Hi. Crazy to see you here. I am Naomi Loud, romance author extraordinaire, witchy, spiritual, eclectic, girly. Welcome to my couch. I have been really itching for a platform where I don't have to market and perform in the way that Instagram and TikTok are asking me for or asking me to. I just need to have a space where I can just sort of yap and not only don the author cap. You catch my drift? So, as an introduction video, I thought I would just tell you guys how I became a romance author. And if you are thinking of becoming an author yourself, this isn't an how to, it's more a sign from the universe, if you will. The way that I came about this career was a little bit not, it was not a straight line, let me tell you. I actually used to have a YouTube channel when I was a tarot reader, when I was a profesh tarot reader slash astrologer. I used to do those pick a card videos. They were really popular. Those videos have been scrubbed from the internet. Don't try to find them. But I have been sort of missing this kind of long form type of content. So I've always been a writer. I've written poetry my entire life. It was mostly poetry I used to write, and short stories. I never knew that I could sort of have the attention span to write an entire book. So that was on my bucket list, but I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Um but I came into romance very very late. I discovered the romance genre just in general in the summer of 2021. And so by then, I was definitely taking my writing seriously, but I didn't know where I was going. I had written a memoir before, never published it. So I thought I was kind of going towards that direction of more personal essays and more memoir type stuff. I never really dabbled in fiction before Was I Ever Here, which is my first book, my debut book. I've written 7 books now. Isn't that crazy? Writing my 8th now, and that's only 3 years later. Wild, wild. And the way that I came about finding romance, also, obviously, I've always been a reader, eclectic when it comes to what I like to read. I'm very much into nonfiction for sure, more like the spiritual stuff, but I've always loved fiction, but for the longest time I don't think I was sort of tapping into the right kind of fiction for me. And so it was when I was a full-time astrologer slash tarot reader that I was burning out, um and I needed a hobby. I needed a hobby stat, because the thing is I turned my hobby into my profession, astrology, and then I was like, I don't know what else to do with my life. And that was pretty much around the same time that I picked up my first fantasy romance novel. Um, and that was summer of 2021. If I'm calculating correctly, I was 33 or 32, around that age. I'm 36 now, going on 37 in August. And then it's this whole world opened up. So I had been working on Was I Ever Here kind of just in the on the back burner, not really knowing what to do with it for almost 2 years at that point. But I was very stuck, and I knew something was missing. So then I read my first fantasy romance, and then I was like, because I was always into writing sex scenes, but not in the way smut is written. It was different. So I knew I had it in me, and then obviously that one book opened up the world of spice for me, and I was like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be writing slash reading. So I went super hyper focus mode and read so many books that first year, that first 6 months. Started a TikTok account, started garnering a good amount of followers for back then. Discovered the community, the romance community, on TikTok and Instagram, and I was blown away. But I was still an astrologer, and that's what I was doing full time. But it really did feel like something was off. Like I knew like something was about to change, like that I wasn't going to be able to sustain that career for as long as I thought I did, especially because I was burning out and I didn't want to do readings anymore. So it's interesting because it was really during it, like I remember this feeling very vividly where it was like that year um I had told myself I'm just letting go. Like I need to just let go and stop trying to control everything and stop trying to make decisions as in like, oh, this decision is going to lead to this and that's going to lead to that. And just kind of go with what felt right and what was just like bringing me joy. So I discovered romance, started reading romance. That was bringing me joy. I started my TikTok account and then realized while I was like, and then I discovered indie romance and realized, oh, I can do this myself. I can publish myself. Like people are like have careers, like legit careers, because before that, it was still sort of like a, like, oh, indie is like not real. It's not real publishing. But then I was like, all my favorite authors are indie. Hello? Also, I love doing everything by myself. Hello? So it was really interesting that like that one decision of like doing only what makes me feel good led to my life completely changing, actually. Like it opened the door to like an entire world of possibilities that I had no clue about. And it's like all of a sudden I had like people that were in my corner cheering me on, like so much help. People were helping me left, right, and center, super supportive. Like I could not believe it. So then by February 2022, so like 6 months later, I was like, I'm gonna finish Was Ever Here. The missing key component was it's gonna be a romance and it's gonna be a dual POV. And from that decision, I finished it in, I want to say a month, 2 month max. And it was published by that summer. So it took me 1 year from discovering the genre entirely to being a published author in that genre. And the rest is history. And I was really lucky also, I find, for my debut because I had the audience built in. People knew me from being a reviewer, liked what I had to say, and trusted that I potentially could also write a book. And they were right. No big deal. So it was a really big pivot. And then as soon as I published my first book, I was like, I'm done. I'm done with astrology. Not as in like the practice itself. I'm still very much an astrologer behind closed doors, very much a tarot reader behind closed doors. But as a career, I even like created an entire secret Instagram for my like, because I was only on TikTok for a while, like completely ghosted my other platform that was all about astrology, which still exists, but it's like, you know, I'm not on there for, it's been years. But I started this whole secret thing. Now it's like my actual Instagram account, but it was like it was just kind of crazy that like whatever, it was like really just the choice of like doing what felt good. And it's funny that I'm talking about this now because that's what I'm trying to actively do this year as well. Last year I felt like I was like doing all of the things because it was like my very first year being full-time as an author, because like when I decided to go to become an author and sort of like and distance myself from like doing readings, etc. I just went and found like a fucking rando job just to like pay the bills until I could like do this full time. And then I became full time. Well, it's funny. I was let go from that job because it was like a seasonal thing. So it wasn't even my choice, but the universe was like, nudge, your turn. So I became full time. A little bit, a little over a year after my first published book. I had 3 books by then published. And then the year that I went full time was also the year that I published On the Line, which is like my bestseller. Bestseller since. that book has like, oh, it lives in an entirely different category versus all my other books. It's like the one that's like supporting me at this point. It's crazy. Like I was saying, since that first year, last year was my first full-time year, I kind of did all of the things and took everyone's opinions and kind of disengaged from my intuition a little bit too much. And so but then I, was reminded that my intuition is always right. So a lot of things happened where I was like, I didn't have to do this, or I should have done that, or whatever. So it was a lot of lessons, a lot of lessons. And then here I am, full circle, needing a hobby because I turned my hobby, reading romance, into a career, writing it, right? So now I'm back at square one where I'm like, I need a hobby. So it's funny because now I'm sort of like going back to astrology, being like, oh, this is fun because it's like not work anymore. But this is kind of like the beginning of finding kind of a hobby. Yes, I mean, I'm probably going to mention like my books here and like my writing stuff, but I'm just a born yapper, okay? And I have a lot to say. There's a lot of thinking going on. There's a ton of topics that has nothing to do really, that's pretty much unrelated to romance that I just want to talk about. And I've been trying to sort of branch out on Instagram, but it's just not working. So I thought, why don't I just start fresh? I start from scratch on YouTube. So this is my little hobby. Hey guys, and see where it goes. If you are thinking about publishing, self-publishing, or you want some tips or advice from, a seasoned romance author, leave a comment below. I'd love to answer questions. Love to answer questions. Love to talk about myself. I am a Leo. If you want to know my big three, I am a Sun Leo, a Libra rising, and a Moon Cancer. Cancer Venus also. I am very bold visually, but I am a big ol' sensey. I feel like the cancer side of me is very obvious in the way that I write. It's very angsty. It's very emotionally charged. I try to find every single area I can to sort of infuse the emotions into a scene. So you can really see that in my books. So if you want to hang out some more and follow along, just hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon. Bye.